I was just going to bring up, it's a weird thing, and you mentioned like guys like Boone, guys like Cora, or even like George Girardi when he was managing the Yankees, and he's still managing today. But it's like the former players, I think, and especially these organizations that have such a heavy analytics influence, there's like always this like power struggle of like who's actually going to win. 'Cause you probably assume that, not all, but some managers are like, well, I play the game, I know what I'm doing, I have a feel for the game. Some managers clearly still, they don't. And then some buy into the analytics completely, where they're only by the book and there's no feel for the game. And I think like this era that we're all in watching baseball right now is strange. And I think they're not going to see like a good kind of middle ground for like years on the road when there's like more former players like who are just going to be used to this analytics. It's part of the game. Because a lot of these guys now are like, it was kind of force fed on them. And so it's like, it's a very, very strange times in baseball. And you see it mainly with like the bullpens, obviously, is like what everyone comes back to. That's the reason why the bullpen arm is so important, which is why Andrew Heaney cannot pitch for the Yankees in the bullpen. Because you're always worrying about the matchups. Everything is matchup based now, and it's like where you bat this guy in the lineup, and your best hitter. It used to be batting like cleanup, now you bat him like second. It's all this strange stuff where it's not going to really sort itself out with these managers who are just getting used to it, probably for another decade and a half until it's like really fully integrated in the game.
Oh, it's a great point. Great point, Eddie. And I think the game is transitioning, just like basketball, just like hockey. All of it is changing.
Absolutely.
Everything's changing. Football, you got these rules, and then they change the rules. One year they got a rule, and then the next year they don't. Roger Goodell,
dude, it's so bad.
I'm not, and I think Roger Goodell is the second worst commissioner in all of sports. I think Rob Manfred, he is horrendous.
Oh,
he is horrendous.
No.
Doubleheader, 7th innings? Are you kidding me?
That's not even the dumbest thing he's done.
It's dumb. I mean, we're not playing softball. It's ridiculous.
A runner starts on second base in extra innings? What the hell is that?
I don't understand it. It
you
ruins
speed the game up alone, then give it a tie and move on.
It's terrible. The game is what is he trying to do? What is he trying to prove? Bob, I say Selig. When you talk about Selig and what he did with the steroids, he tried to hide that for years in the 90s. Now all of a sudden, you talk about the Senate and everybody wants to get involved with it. The government gets involved with it, and he hides and throws it at Alex Rodriguez, blames Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. It's terrible, absolutely terrible.
A raw deal with that.
It was terrible. It's not fair. It really isn't.
That's alone why I hate Brian Cashman. How you disrespect Alex Rodriguez?
In terms of bad calls and bad commissioning, I think what's going to really piss us off during this NFL season, by far, will be worse than like the what's a catch, what's not a catch, or did he have possession? The whole thing. This new taunting rule that if you could like get a first down, you do like the first down signal, or you like get pumped if you just truck the guy, and they're going to flag you. And it's going to be unsportsmanlike. It's going to be 15 yards. We're going to get so sick of that. The old rule I used to hate the most, and college actually has two of them, is number one, targeting, which is almost never called correctly, and the other one is like the hit on a quarterback, where the quarterback will be throwing the ball and the ball's spiraling out of his hand. If it's still barely touching his pinky and he gets hit in the numbers, they're going to flag him for that. And it actually happened in the Nebraska-Illinois game back in week 0. That actually happened, where I was like, man, I think it kind of changed the tide of that whole game. Where what are you supposed? If you're a defender, how do you stop yourself midair? If you're 6'6", 275 pounds, how are you stopping yourself running full speed into a quarterback? It's insane. So those two rules are bad, but I think this new NFL taunting rule is like gonna surpass the insane like reaction that we've seen with those other two college rules. And I'm telling you, like, I don't want to jinx this NFL season. I know it's only a day away now. It's gonna be something to look out for. And I'm gonna say this to you now. You're gonna be watching a game. It's gonna happen. You're gonna go, well, Eddie said it, and we're gonna. You just can't imagine changing the outcome of a game because a guy was excited. He made a good play in the sport that he gets paid to do. Like, it is, when you think about it like that, it is. It's so bad, and I hate when refs are part of the game.
We're already 1 week into the college football season, and still nobody knows what targeting is.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
God,
I'm telling you, this taunting thing is going to go way above targeting in the quarterback hits. I could feel it already. It's going to ruin outcomes because refs want to be part of the games, and how many teams are going to get into field goal range now because of an extra 15 yards? It's disgusting. So yeah, Goodell. I mean, I don't know how like these and you know what? I shouldn't even crush Goodell. It's really the committees of the owners, and I know like John Mara was like for it, and he was like, we don't want to see players taunting. It's like, but what's taunting? It's all a subjective thing. It's just, it's so bad.
Who would have thought?
So bad.
Who would have thought, Eddie, that Gary Bettman would be the best commissioner in sports?
I know. Gary Bettman just like strapped himself to a chair and duct tape and like did not move. And he's like, "All right, you win by default because you're not really pissing anyone off right now." It's insane how like I feel like being a commissioner is an easy job. Like Silver had a good stretch and things got kind of weird, obviously, with the last 2 years with like whatever. I'm not gonna get into that whole stuff, but it's like
LeBron is the commissioner. He's the commissioner of the NBA.
Yeah, Silver's a shadow commissioner. But yeah, Batman just like, I'm just going to shut up for a few years and let the other 3 guys just ruin their jobs, and I'll get credit.
Before we let you go, by the way, we were talking to -3 podcast producer Eddie Spaghetti. The Knicks. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts with the Knicks, the acquisitions they've made this offseason? Kemba Walker, who I believe will be close to 100% this year. The players that they added, the Chicago Bulls added some good pieces to their team. They're going to be a dangerous team in the East. Do you think the Knicks are closer to the top 4 that they came in this year, or a little bit below, even with the additions they've made? And who do you think, out of the acquisitions they've made this offseason from the Nets and the Knicks, are moving forward, not moving backwards? As good as the Nets are with the 3 players they have, I look at their team. They're an old bunch of guys. If they don't win this year, they're never going to win. So who do you think has made the better opportunity for this team to move forward? And what did you think of the Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets acquisitions they've made this offseason?
I think the Nets, if I had to pick right now to say who's going to win the title in the NBA, I would probably say the Brooklyn Nets. I think what you said is exactly right. It's like, I think all the players, correct me if I'm wrong, they all have like opt-out clauses. I think like KD has one, Kyrie may have one. They could opt out and leave after this year. So they pretty much know like this is going to be it, and they're not getting any younger. I'm not sure how well they would mesh too beyond one more full season together. I think that Kyrie's a guy that like nobody gets along with. So but we saw how good when KD came back and he was healthy. We saw how good he was, and as it pains me to say this, but like he at times looked like he was by far the best player on the planet. Obviously, what Giannis did by himself pretty much was awesome to watch. But they would be my pick to win it, and I think they know that, and I think we'll see moves they make. They're smart moves. I'm not sure what like the Lakers did, for example, is that smart. Like, oh, we're gonna get a bunch of guys that LeBron's friendly with, and they're 38 years old, and like they'll be a good team, the Lakers, but I don't think they're gonna be a serious contender when it gets down to the nitty gritty. I think whereas the Nets are going to build a smarter team. People say their front office knows what they're doing. I think Steve Nash, being brought in was kind of a high-profile name, but it's like, what's his coaching background? He's done a pretty good job, or the best he can, managing those humongous egos in that team with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. So I think we'll see some good moves from them at the deadline too. I think they're not done making moves. We saw a bunch of like transitions going on during the season, and it kind of helped teams in the playoffs as they went on. To reverse things with the Knicks, I will say as a Knicks fan, I love the series with the Hawks because it kind of ignited something where like fans got angry and like they had an enemy now. Like everyone kind of rallied against Trae Young and like he's the bad guy, he's the villain. He played a really good villain. Like obviously they won, but getting Kemba, is that the answer? They're going to now elevate themselves to the upper echelon. Like if I had a bet, I would say absolutely not. Like it hasn't really worked out for him his last two teams. So what he will do is provide depth, some shooting here and there if they need it. I think what it comes down to the Knicks is like they need their young players to take a next step. They need Mitchell Robinson to stay healthy. They need Obi Toppin to improve, and I guess Mitchell Robinson to improve as well. And they also need RJ Barrett to take a major step. If those things don't happen, I don't think Julius Randle could do it by himself. And I don't think, no matter how good of a coach Tibbs is, I don't think he can really push those guys up. They just don't have the stars. The NBA is a star-driven league. If you don't have stars, it's really hard to beat teams with 2, 3, 4 sometimes first team all NBA players, and the Knicks just don't have that. What they were trying to do is just stockpile a bunch of draft picks and look for the future. That being said, they're for sure a playoff team. They'll be a playoff team, but they won't beat the likes of the Nets, the Bucks, the Sixers probably, depending on what they do with Simmons, the Hawks still. So it's just really what this team is riding on is like the hopes the young players turn things around and just Tibbs just coaching the hell out of them again. But it was a fun, they lost, but it was a fun kind of wrap up of the season. It was a lot better than years past. Being a Knicks fan, seeing what they could actually do. It's like, oh, wow, an actual good coach and players who buy in. It's like, oh, you could actually win basketball games. It's pretty cool. I
don't think Randall could play in front of fans, and he hasn't proven it yet. In the second half of the season, at the end of the season, I think it was a huge problem when the fans started coming in. He was ice cold. I want to see this guy play when there are fans and people cheering for him and screaming MVP. To me, I understand they got a deal for him. They paid him 115 or 120 million, whatever they gave him.
Right.
They got a great deal for him and saves them a lot of money for the future. What's really going to be looked at, I think, for the New York Knicks is that Hornets trade, getting that Hornets pick. Because if the Hornets are a lottery pick, which very much could be this year, because everybody thinks the Hornets are going to be good. I do not. I think they're going to be horrible. They're going to be a borderline lottery team. Guess who owns their pick next year? The Knicks. So that could really solidify the Knicks and put them in a position where they can get the player they want moving forward with the youth that they have, Grimes and the different players that they have. Everybody forgot about Grimes. He's a he's a great shooter. If he could figure out how to give himself space in the NBA, Allen Houston-like. I really believe he could be another Allen Houston. So, and he's a great defender. He is a closeout, shutdown defender. So it's going to be very interesting what the Knicks do and what Thibodeau does, because we have all known, and you know, you're a Knicks fan. I know you are. With everything with the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau does very well his first 2 or 3 years, and then the players start to buy out of what he does and he teaches. So that's what scares me about the Knicks. But Tom Thibodeau wanted this job. He's always wanted this job. He's got it. Take him to that next level.
He does run teams hard into the ground, and they kind of lose faith in it. If they start losing games, it's like, then, well, I'm losing, and I'm being overworked in practice, and this guy's grinding me. It's like, of course, it's not a fun environment, especially with these guys in the NBA who all these, like I said, major egos where they're making, 9 figures, and they're like, why am I going to do this? Why am I running sprints with this, like, old white guy yelling at me? Like, they don't care. But what I will say is, like, having a guy that he did play with, earlier in his career is like Derrick Rose, playing with Tibbs and then now being a Knick, maybe there's a chance that he's like the veteran stage of his career where he's like, no, guys, like, buy in. Like, him being kind of like this team captain role, I think is a really good thing, and they have. And I actually do think about it. I do worry about that because you saw it happen with the Bulls, saw it happen with the Timberwolves, that he just runs teams to the ground. But, they just, it's one of those things where if they're like, okay, we were this close last year, we added some pieces in the draft, we had, getting guys back healthy now, we added a guy like Kemba Walker, who's, pretty well respected around the league. Let's just not crap out and blame the coach. Let's just work together, and maybe they could, win a round of the playoffs, and that'd be a great start. And then, like you said, with all the draft picks they have upcoming the next year, maybe they hit on a guy and they get their own superstar. They're due, right? There's like how many years of us just barely missing out on guys we have not gotten them. We get like RJ Barrett instead of Ja Morant or Zion. Exactly. The Porzingis, like that guy. I guess that could have been worse. They could have taken like Jahlil Okafor or somebody like that.
Porzingis is an ass.
It's
he's an ass.
But yeah, I mean they need somebody to come and really be a true star alongside Randall, and then I'd love to travel back home and spend $3,000 to sit in the rafters at Madison Square Garden and watch the Knicks play like the Celtics or somebody.
Keep doing what you're doing so you'll be able to afford it. So
I don't know if anyone could afford, unless you're like an A-list celebrity. I think like no one affords Knicks games. Like, who goes to Knicks games? Like, I don't know a single person who's like, oh yeah, I just dropped 4 digits and went to a Knicks game. It's insane.
James Dolan's insiders.
Bad too. It's so bad. It's like, yeah, the seats are just full of like Dolan employees. It is insane. Like, the only times I see my teams play when they come out here. When I come home, it's like I'm not even wasting my time to go to one of the stadiums. It's just way too much money.
It's crazy. It really is. Eddie, thank you for joining us. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Yes, at Edward L. Murphy on Twitter, I think. If you follow, what is it, Extra Points Pod, at Extra Points Pod, or at -3, you'll see my handle pop up. We're doing great work over there. Me and myself, Dave Damashek, obviously you guys had on, is huge fans of yours, Cousin Sal, Kevin Hench. I think we got TJ Hushmanzad on the show. We got a bunch of stuff coming on for football season. The Ansel Odds guys, those are awesome guys. So a lot of fun stuff. Follow me there, and I will be tweeting out, I guess, my bad sports takes and talk about music and TV shows I watch. So that's pretty much what you get from me.
Speedy's going to cut out, our producer right over here is going to cut out this interview. You can take it, he'll send it to you, and you can post it on your social media. You are awesome. We would love to get you on again in the next couple of months, and you give us good intake. And by the way, one way or another, you're going to start to hate this guy right in front of me because he and his takes.
That's me.
His takes are just outrageously stupid. But
you know what it is? I have the balls to say things no one else has the balls to say.
Don't get out of here. You have no balls,
hey,
and you probably don't weigh an
It's better than being Switzerland, so I give you credit for that. But yeah, this was way more fun than Dave even led on. So you guys were a pleasure, and I'd love to come back whenever and talk some shop more.
Eddie, thank you, my friend.